Hiya, so welcome back. In this session we're going to create controls for our expressions. First thing, you want to make sure that when you are in your blend shape editor or the shape editor, obviously the slider for the groups are on. You want to make sure they're on, but the rest of the expressions make sure they're just off, and you're not editing things right now. We can always go back and edit them when we're not happy once we put the controls on them, but if we have the setup, then at least we've got all the automation there. And then if we don't like individual expressions, and once we combine some of them together, we can still edit them because we've got the target nodes in here. So in terms of controls, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to have a set of locators that are going to drive these expressions, and then we will layer them with nerd circles as controls. So what I'm going to do, and as we go through it, I'll talk about the reason for that. You might be asking the question, why can't we just have a circle and as a control to drive them first? Well, you can do that as well, but if you want to have an uber control on top of it, like a big circular shape that actually houses all three eyebrow controls, for example, when we come to that point, I'll explain it in detail. So let's create locators. So if I just create one, we've got these shapes. Initially I'll leave it at scale 1 for now, and what I'm going to do, just bring it up to the eyebrow in, left eyebrow in, and I'm going to hold on to V key or the snap to the point option, this magnet, and I'm just going to try and snap it somewhere like this, for example, and I'll bring it out something like this, and we go to modify freeze transformation. Okay, so this one is left eyebrow in, let's call it locator, and I'm going to duplicate it, just bring it up, you can check it from the top view just to place them into the right places, and from the front view maybe somewhere around here, just to give animator a bit of a nice graphical user interface, and we want to just adjust it like that. And then another one, I'm just going to check the direction. Let me just click object to see whether it's going to make any changes. For this one it's not, because it's just a single locator and it's not a part of anything. We'll just use this. I think when I rotate it, it should be fine, so I'm going to set it to object. Something like this. Maybe this could get a bit closer. That should be alright. I'll freeze transform on those as well, and on this one left eyebrow mid lock, and then left eyebrow out. lock. And I think my freeze transform option needs to be reset because I'm not getting rotations frozen. I'll do it again. Yeah. At this point, excuse me, if you want to make your locators bigger or smaller, you can use the local scale to make them bigger or smaller, like 0.5 or something like that. That won't affect their usual transforms. Okay, so we've got these. What we do, we're going to go to our outliner and we can group them. Control G, left eyebrow locks or locators. And then I'm going to, this can be a part of an Uber facial controls group. For now, I'm just going to center their pivot. Just leave it there. So what I want to do also is that you can duplicate this and mirror it to the other side as well. So for instance, before we center the pivot, I'm just going to go back when the pivot is in the middle of the stage. We can duplicate this. Let's call this right eyebrow locks. And in fact, we can search and replace and change their names because they're in a hierarchy. There we go. That's modify, search and replace. And then what I'm going to do, put minus into the scale attribute, and we should have it to the other side. The benefit of this is that if I was to select this guy and that guy, when I do this, now for the mid and the out is not a big deal, but for these two it is. You want the animator to do that and that. Because their groups are mirrored, we can achieve that. And then what we'll do, we'll hook these up to their blend shapes. So I'm going to go to node editor. Again, what we're going to do next can be achieved with set driven keys as well, but we're going to use remaps. So window, node editor. I'm just going to open a clean tab, delete the original one. I'll close it. So we're going to bring these individual ones. The left one, for example, we use the add selected node. I don't need their shapes. So that's that one. And then we'll find our blend shapes. The actual blend shape node, which is the Uber node. Right click, select blend shape node. It selects it, and then you can go back to your node editor and bring it in. That's it. In your blend shape nodes, when you expand the list, under the weight, you will have all your blend shapes that are residing in the shape editor. That's why naming them it's important. Now you can create a one-to-one association without worrying about remaps. So it's all about going 1 point up and 1 point down. So you can choose to do that. It will be a direct linear association without a remap. The trouble is that in terms of graphical user interface, so if I just bring this up, for example, say if this goes down 1 point, something like this is going to finish there. And if your blend shape is also, if you're gonna let's talk about this. Okay, if it's going to go down, for example, visually, you know, the actual shape weight passes the location of this locator, and the animator might be confused. You want them to pull the locator or the control down same way, so it's almost like minus 0.7, something like that in this case, or we might say minus 0.5, sorry, 2.5. you know, you want to have that nice association visually, and that's why we're using remaps. Okay, but as I said, you know, there's always a chance, you know, you can do a direct association without worrying about the remaps. So I know that when we are on the blend shape, and this is how I test it, so I tested the down motion, so this is minus 2.5, and let's test the up motion. And if I was to pull this up, yeah, I can call this 2.5 up, 2.5 up and 2.5 down, so something like that. So I kind of established that. So going back to our node editor, so we're going to hook the translate Y of this locator to the left eyebrow in up and down. That's what we're going to do, and that's with a remap. So I'm just going to press the tab key, remap value, and I'll just grab the name, something like this, copy it and paste it with the remap so I can keep track of it, or else you have to go back to the node editor and just find it. So naming some kind of a short name is important to have. So unfortunately, the representation of the blend shape node in the node editor doesn't give us the groups. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem, but yeah, so we have to go and find them. So translate Y of this locator is going to be hooked into the, it's going to be plugged into the input value, and the out value we're going to hook it up to the left eyebrow in down and up. I need to find the up as well. Let me just check this. I thought it was going to reorganize it, so here we go, it's up here. So the out value is left eyebrow in up, so we're going to use the up and down. That's it. So now that we've got the direct link, it's a simple association. So when this guy is at 0, nothing happens. When this guy is at 2.5, we want the eyebrow in up to be at 1, which is a blend shape can only have 0 and 1. So our input minimum, which is the default value, is 0. Input maximum, which is the translation of this object up, 2.5. Input minimum and maximum are to do with the translation of this locator. Output minimum is our blend shaped, so it's 0 to start with, and maximum is 1 when it ends. So right now we can also show it in here as well. It's already been hooked up, so when I pull this out, at 2.5 we've got the full effect. Alright, now the question is, for the up and down, rather than creating a new remap, why can't we just use the same remap for the down as well? You can do that, but then you have to change the input minimum for the locator.